Hello, I'm Father Joe Roesch of the Marian Fathers of the Immaculate Conception. Thank you for joining us as we continue with our year-long journey reading the diary of St. Maria Faustina Kowalska from beginning to end. Today we take up from where we left off, beginning with diary entry number 440. O my Creator and Lord, my entire being is yours. Dispose of me according to your divine pleasure and according to your eternal plans and your unfathomable mercy. May every soul know how good the Lord is. May no soul fear to commune intimately with the Lord. May no soul use unworthiness as an excuse, and may it never postpone accepting God's invitations, for that is not pleasing to the Lord. There is no soul more wretched than I am, as I truly know myself, and I am astounded that divine majesty stoops so low. O eternity, it seems to me that you are too short to extol adequately the infinite mercy of the Lord. Once, the image was being exhibited over the altar during the Corpus Christi procession, June 20th, 1935. When the priest exposed the Blessed Sacrament and the choir began to sing, the rays from the image pierced the sacred host and spread out all over the world. Then I heard these words, "These rays of mercy will pass through you, just as they have passed through this host, and they will go out through all the world." At these words, profound joy invaded my soul. Once, when my confessor, Father Sapochko, was saying Mass, I saw, as usual, the child Jesus on the altar from the time of the offertory. However, a moment before the elevation, the priest vanished from my sight, and Jesus alone remained. When the moment of the elevation approached, Jesus took the host and the chalice in his little hands and raised them together, looking up to heaven, and a moment later I again saw my confessor. I asked the child Jesus where the priest had been during the time I had not seen him. Jesus answered, "In my heart." But I could not understand anything more of these words of Jesus. On one occasion I heard these words, "I desire that you live according to my will, in the most secret depths of your soul." I reflected on these words, which spoke very much to my heart. This was on the day of confessions for the community. When I went to confession and had accused myself of my sins, the priest, Father Sapochko, repeated to me the same words that the Lord had previously spoken. The priest spoke these profound words to me. There are 3 degrees in the accomplishment of God's will. In the first, the soul carries out all rules and statutes pertaining to external observance. In the second degree, the soul accepts interior inspirations and carries them out faithfully. In the third degree, the soul, abandoned to the will of God, allows him to dispose of it freely, and God does with it as he pleases, and it is a docile tool in his hands. And the priest said that I was at the second degree in the accomplishment of God's will, and that I had not yet reached the third degree, but that I should strive to attain it. These words pierced my soul. I see clearly that God often gives the priest knowledge of what is going on in the depths of my soul. This does not surprise me at all. Indeed, I thank God that he has such chosen persons. Here Faustina prays and thanks God that he is so merciful, that he lowers himself to work with a creature with weaknesses like herself. She praises God's mercy. She understands that we can't use our weakness as an excuse, because if God chooses us, he will give us the grace to supply for what is lacking. Then, during a Corpus Christi procession, which honors the body and blood of Christ, the rays of mercy from the image pass through the host in the monstrance and spread out over the whole world. And Jesus tells her that the rays pass through her as well. Now, St. Faustina is a special intercessor, and so it's not surprising that these rays of mercy would pass through her. But Jesus wants to use all of us as instruments of his mercy. His rays can pass through us to others as we pray and offer sacrifices and intercede for one another. And as we love one another and do works of mercy for one another, those rays can pass through us as well. Another time during Mass, the priest disappears, and then Faustina sees the child Jesus taking up the host and the chalice. Now, the priest is a special representative of Christ on earth, and Jesus works through the person of the priest for most of the sacraments. Jesus explains to St. Faustina that when the priest disappeared, he was in his heart. That the Lord loved Father Sopoćko very, very much. And so it's not surprising that there was a sort of a disappearance of the priest and the appearance of Jesus, because it's really Jesus who offers the Holy Mass. The priest takes the place of Jesus at the altar. And then Jesus calls Faustina to live according to his will in the depths of her heart. And her confessor is given the inspiration to help Faustina understand what Jesus means. Father Sopoćko speaks of 3 degrees of accomplishing God's will. In the first degree, the soul obeys the rules and the statutes regarding external observance. So if it's the case of a religious, a sister or a brother, that person keeps the religious rule as it is written and is obedient to it. If it's a married person, that person would keep their marriage vows. It would observe the basic rules that need to be observed. The second degree, the soul also carries out interior inspirations, those that come from Christ. This goes beyond what the religious rule would require or what marriage vows would require. And Faustina was at that second level. She was trying to follow the inspirations that came from Christ, calling her to a higher degree of holiness. The third degree of accomplishing God's will is when a soul is completely abandoned to God's will, and God is able to do with it what he wills. So to become an instrument in God's hands and to offer no resistance. We can think of St. Faustina crossing out on that page in the diary, my will. From now on, my will no longer exists. I only want to do God's will. Or we can think of Mary at the Annunciation, when she said to the angel, I am the handmaid of the Lord. Be it done unto me according to your will.